So much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum reaching you live from Benin City, Edo State, South Nigeria. I am Wilson Marshall. Well, today on the International Forum, we're diving into what is happening right now in Mexico. Yes, I repeat it, Mexico. The death of El Mencho is beginning to cause serious havoc across about 20 states in Mexico. I'm probably talking so much about this. Even Claudia is trying to tell the people that everything will be okay. The question now is, will things be okay? Yes, new generation cartel led by El Mencho, founded in the year 2010 or thereabout. It has grown across lips and buns. Remember that Donald Trump started this war intensely against drug trafficking. He accused Mexico. He also accused Venezuela, Colombia, Cuba, you just name it, of importing drugs into the U.S. that has led to the death of so many U.S. citizens. And instead with Nicolas Maduro, maybe, just maybe, he wanted to enter into Mexico, but Claudia, the president of Mexico, made him to know that they can really handle their own issue. Yes, woman, through the military, neutralized El Mencho. Well, when the news of his death surfaced, it was like hell broke loose in Mexico. What do you think are the consequences of this particular death of this drug cartel, a drug baron, one of the toughest so far, that's been charged with so many crimes: drug trafficking, oil theft, immigration racketing, you just name it. And they took out the leader. Some are saying it was a right call, others are saying no, it is the wrong call. But what do you feel about all this? With me here in the studio to talk about this, I have a legal practitioner, public affairs commentator, join me to welcome Barrister Emmanuel Obapolo. Barrister, thank you so much for making our time to be here this afternoon.
It's a delight being here. Good afternoon, Nigerians.
All right. And of course, from our Lagos studio, once we have this connection right, definitely be hearing from Chris Ososa, public affairs commentator, that is so vast when you talk about international relations, when you talk about international affairs. You get to realize that when you start analyzing, you get to know that really Nigerians are definitely in tune with what is happening globally. That's why this program was created by ITV, to keep you abreast of what is going on around the world. All right, now El Mencho is dead. There are backlashes here and there. Barrister Mano, what can you say about this?
Well, the cloud is dark and heavy just now in Mexico. And you would agree with me that the situation over there is tensed. But come to think of it, countries or states in international law that allow individuals to begin to involve in drug peddling and all manner of abusive character, you find you have a situation like this. The man called El Mencho formed this cartel known as the Jalisco New Generation Cartel in Mexico in the year 2010, to be precise. And thereafter he began to build so many things, build the cartel to the extent that they have so much money, or monies, as the case may be, in their possession, and they were involved in every manner of crime. They could be properly described as above the law persons in that state called Mexico. Now, at a point when Donald Trump became the president of America, the man had an agenda, and one of his agenda, which metamorphosed to become his mandate, is to see how he could fight drug peddling, not just in the United States of America, but other states around or that shares boundary with the United States of America. And we saw how he was able to trap Maduro, and today we are talking of the man known as El Mencho from Mexico. And you know, in the military of Mexico had to intervene to see how they could get him arrested their intention was not to kill him from the facts made available. The intention was to get him arrested and probably carry out investigation to know how they could go from there. But to their amazement, there was an attack on them, and that was what led to the gun duel between the military and El Mencho cartel group. And at that spot, about 20 persons from the group died. But you can see that what is really making the news just now, or the name that is ringing the bell, is just the man called El Mencho. And he was captured, injured, but on the way, he died. And today, about 20 cities in Mexico, inclusive the capital, Mexico City, has become a den of outrage. And we see a lot of calamities and a lot of attacks. They attack banks, attack supermarkets, attack businesses to see how they can make their grievances known to the whole world. And today, even Jalisco is one of the cities to host the forthcoming World Cup.
We will come into that.
Yes, and is just boiling just now. Mexico is indeed bleeding, courtesy of the death of El Mencho. So to the extent that even the military now is now battling with the internal catastrophe that once upon a time the military pampered, or the government of the day pampered, and here we are. So what it goes to tell, that in every state or every country of the world or nation of the world, that drug peddling should be something that should be handled with stiff restriction.
All right.
But where we have a situation where you even have the drug peddlers in position of leadership, where do we go?
All right, I'll come back to you, Barrister Emmanuel Obapolo. Let's move straight down to Lagos. We have Chris Ososa. Chris, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good, my brother.
Oh. What is happening right now in Mexico? So what do you feel about it? Do you feel that Claudia, the president of Mexico, is doing the right thing by going all out against drug cartel? Remember that this drug war has been on in Mexico for over 3 decades and counting.
Yeah, she's doing what she can to curtail the reprisal coming from the group, the JNG, because they are boiling seriously. Like the guest in the studio there with you rightly said, over 20 cities in Mexico are boiling at the moment. Over 25, National Guards has been killed as a result of the killing of El Mencho, who by real name is actually Nemesio Ruben Oseguera, Cavetes. Okay, so they're pumping out to really create much havoc, and then the president too is trying to hold the ground, to push the fact that they're in control of this. The military are in charge of it. They're trying to do what they can do best. And then right now, they've sent out quite over 2,500 more military, all right, into the street to control, the havoc that is going on right now. Because if they're not doing this, the cartel has the capacity to send half of Mexico on fire. The other capacity, they've been very violent. They've been very horrible, yeah. And then, so the best thing to do is also to show some kind of strength, to confront them, and then to try to slow them down. Because if that is not done, Mexico will be a disastrous place to be. So the president, she's doing great. She's doing well. I mean, you can tell she has a Jewish blood. No, she's bold. And then she's taking the bull by the horn.
All right. All right, thank you so much. Well, you heard him. He said, from what Claudia is doing, she's doing well. But some are saying, for El Mencho to be killed, that was a huge mistake. Because this war against drug cartels in Mexico has been on for quite a long time. Some accused previous administration of pampering them. Filippo did his best while he was president, but right now Claudia is like, taking it all out. Going after them headlong, knowing fully well that these cartels, they have, tentacles around the state of Mexico and beyond. Was that the right approach? Was killing El Mencho a huge mistake on their part?
Like I did say from the outset, it was not intentional to kill him. But you know one thing about drug peddling? Drug peddling is a chemistry, a chemical reaction rather, a chemical reaction that is not only internal but also external. What do I mean by that? You have neighboring countries, like you have Mexico, you have Venezuela, you have Cuba, you have what is it called? Colombia. All of this country is known with drug peddling. You have cartel, strong cartel. And you know, like they say in this part of the world, that once you have the money, you can command even the fly to sit. So in Mexico, this cartel has built, they are so strong to the extent that they've built themselves wherein they can command anything. So as the military, the president just now of Mexico has taken a bold step. I refer to her as Junior Bubu.
Junior
Bubu happens to be the nickname for Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. You can see the Jewish blood, you can see the DNA speaking. A woman of her status who can boldly confront what other presidents before her feared. So I think it's a good fight. I think she should stand her ground. Like again, El Mencho was to be arrested so that investigation could commence. Then they can get to know what is really happening with respect to the drug cartel. But here we are, he resisted. In fact, his group shot the first bullets at the military. And the military, in trying to counter them, they got down El Mencho. Now, in trying to take him to the hospital, on the way the man died. So you cannot say that he was intended to be killed. No, not at all. But here we are, he's dead now. And the group is saying, oh, we are going to cause mayhem, we are going to cause crisis, we are going to cause chaos in Mexico. I think it is time for the military to take their stand and ensure that they protect the state called Mexico against every form of invasion, against drug peddling, against drug baron, and against the so-called big boys. This fight just now is a battle for the big boys and not for the small boys. So I see the president taking a stand, and I wish her well. And I do hope that at the close of the day, Mexico will come out victorious. I think there is this needful to wipe out drug peddlers from every part of the world.
All right, let's move on to Lagos, where Chris is standing by. Chris, some of the people know that this drug thing has eaten so deep into the fabric of Mexico. Protonate might just be uprooting the structure, so to speak, on the ground of some cities, if not almost all of the cities in Mexico. This will lead to more chaos in the sense that there'll be this fight who to occupy the vacuum created by the death of El Mencho. What do you feel about that assertion?
All right, for a start, definitely the group, CNG, is weakened by the death of El Mencho. All right, now to further weaken the group, there's going to be internal conflict of who to take over. So it might lead to that group, breaking into blocks. All right, and that will weaken the connection that group was having before the death of El Mencho. And then also there are other rival group, all right, that will also want to claim some of the territories of JNG. Okay, so that infighting, in some way will weaken them, because when they fight among themselves like that, it can also be very brutal. And then they reduce their strength, in numbers, and then what they do. So this is a good
Chris, are you there?
The cooperation of the US, all right, to deepen that fight, to hold the ground and try to maximize, pulling down the influence of drug cartel. Sadly, it's one, menace, drug peddling that's eaten so deep into the fabric of Mexico. So it's not what they can just uproot overnight. They started in the right direction, all right, by going for this very strong man. Now he's down. They should then do what I would call a strong coordination to ensure that they don't regroup powerfully and they continue to bring them down. Because it's not enough to take out the leader. You must do something about the structure. You need to go after the structure and then expect the worst from them. And that's what they're going to do, because the group want to show strength. So they're going to be hard on the Mexico as a nation. But the president needs to be very brave now that this battle has begun. So you have to go all out, because it's going to be brutal. So you have to respond with strength, all right? But very importantly, leverage on the kind of intelligence that the U.S. is providing to go after the network, the structure, and pull them down. Because Donald Trump leading the U.S. is doing a lot, in pulling down the drug syndicates, in Venezuela, and then in, all the surrounding nations around Mexico, because they all major in drug dealing and all of that. So the Mexican president should do well to accept the cooperation of the U.S., in intelligence, and then, if need be, military support. And then there's nothing wrong with that. So that they can just go all out and then weaken the state of the menace of drug trafficking in Mexico particularly, because the menace is horrible. And then I had the guests in the studio there with you mention how that, of course, they are hosting the World Cup. And if things are not done right, the World Cup is just in June. And if it's not curtailed right now, Mexico will not be a friendly place to be.
All right, if it's not curtailed right now, Mexico will not be a friendly place to be. But this is not the first drug baron that's been killed in Mexico. There have been others. Some are saying this Mencho is just in the new generation. His own kind of, there have been greater drug barons, drug cartel, even bigger, stronger in connection and network, more than what El Mencho was heading. Yes, the leaders were taking off, but still, it didn't even stop the drug trafficking from Mexico to other countries. Rather, they became so numerous in number. Now, if you had the death of this El Mencho, we would do something to the cartel or the networks operating in Mexico.
I don't believe so. That with the elimination of El Mencho, or the taking away of El Mencho, that there is going to be this break in connection with respect to drug peddling in not just Mexico, but other surrounding sister states around Mexico, like Cuba, like Colombia, and Venezuela. Because you see, one thing about drug peddlers don't just build a tent. What they do, they build a kingdom. They build an empire of their own. They begin to have this network, and they are so powerful. Some of them are even involved in politics. Some of them are sponsors of political parties. So because of all of this strength they were able to garner over the years, they try to see that their voice is heard even in the political situation in every state they find themselves dwelling. So with this one just now, that the Mexican government led by the president just now, that I give her a term as the commander-in-chief, just as you see Benjamin Netanyahu doing in Israel. If Benjamin Netanyahu had folded his hands to say, oh, the terrorists are so powerful, we will not go anywhere, today Israel won't be smiling. Yes, so I want to see her taking a stand, and I want to see this synergy between the United States of America, just like the guest via Zoom said, between the United States of America and the Mexican government, to see how, one, Mexico could be protected, if for nothing, but because of the hosting right vested on them of the forthcoming FIFA World Cup, to see how these projects, this mandate, this assignment that is being carried out now, to see how they could puncture the network of these drug peddlers does not, at the end of the day, deter or affect the hosting right of Mexico with respect to the forthcoming FIFA World Cup. So there should be the government should take their stand. And I want to tell you, Wilson, that to my mind, I absolutely agree that I see that even if the drug peddlers are not eliminated, or because it will not be easy just now, but there could be this fear inside of them. Some of them could begin to take their heels also, because by the time they see that they are not holding grip, because some of the states in Mexico just now, they are holding grip. They have this empire, like I did say from the outset. They have empire that they hold on to, that they've been to build over the years. So El Mencho has a very dangerous group, unlike other drug peddlers, heads of other drug peddling cartel rather, that we've seen over the years. They were not as dangerous as that of El Mencho. El Mencho did not just build a cartel, but he built a dangerous constituency. And just now, the United States of America and the Mexican government are trying to see how they could puncture them, displace them, so that the network may not be there any longer. And I see them falling, just that they are falling just now.
All right, you see them falling. Well, let me go to Chris. Chris, you might just want to remember that there's this assertion that these drug barons or this drug cartel controls at least more than 30% of the economy of Mexico. Now, with this elimination of El Mencho, do you feel that the GDP, so to speak, of Mexico will be affected because some of these countries rely on this cartel to make things go economically in their country? And that seems to be one of the cry of Donald Trump against countries supporting drug peddlers.
Obviously, the immediate consequence will be very harsh on the Mexican system. Because what makes these drug peddlers very powerful is because they are entrenched in every life service of Mexico. All right, they are involved in the politics of Mexico. They're involved in the economy of Mexico. They're involved in a whole lot of stuff. You even be shocked that even local economy, the microeconomy also get some kind of benefit from them, because they spread some kind of economic values across board. So this makes them very, very powerful. So they have their influence cut across board. So it's always very difficult to fight them and uproot them. So obviously, with what is happening now, it will have some harsh effect, immediate effect on Mexico as a system, as a nation. But at this point, the government of Mexico should be able to communicate well with the people of Mexico, and then try to make them understand what should be expected, and then what the promises of a fresh beginning will be, and all of that, so that people can be carried along. Like I said earlier, because the U.S. is providing intelligence for the Mexican government, they should tighten that hold, because the U.S. have capacity of planting undercover into the drug system. So that way, they will have a chance of going after the structure. Because if they don't do that, these guys will regroup. Though I see that the group will not be the same after the death of Mencho, because the truth is this: there will be a tussle for leadership. And then those that will lose out in that tussle, some of them want to break away. So the power for now, their influence for now, could be tapped, all right, broken, but they should not allow them to regroup into that force again. So it is important they maximize what they can get from the U.S. to further break them down, and importantly, find a systematic way to go after the structures. It's important, because it's not enough to kill the leader. If you just stay there, another leader will emerge. And that's what's been happening. So you have to go after the structure, find a way to do that. The U.S. can help greatly with that. They have to work, although you be careful of Trump, because Trump is a business person. Once he is offering help, he wants to get something back in return. However, you must be bold enough to go after the strategy, the system, the network of the drug cartel, not just with this particular group, but even with the rival groups. Because over the years, over decades, they've entrenched, the drug cartel thing have entrenched themselves into the life of Mexico. That, in fact, as a matter of fact, if you're going to say 2-3 things about Mexico, drug trafficking will come up as top 3. It's been that bad with Mexico and some other countries around them. So very importantly, they should go after them. Mexico will suffer the brunt for now. It will affect the economy. It will affect the stability of the nation. It will affect the peace.
All
to confront it all.
Thank you so much, Chris. I will come back to you. Well, you heard him talking about affecting the economy. But that was a question I raised. They say, yes, it's going to really affect the economy because if you take a look at the statistics, someone saying out of every 10 families, at least 6 to 7 of the family have an affiliation with a drug cartel because that seems to be their way of life. And of the opinion that you taking out the leader, El Mencho, is like you fighting against Mexico as a country because after all, like, you know, this big web or big branch connected together. You think this government will win this battle because like fighting every family in and of course across these 20 cities in Mexico.
Yes, it is going to be an Herculean task. It is going to be a very difficult one with respect to the economy of Mexico because the drug peddlers contribute about 30% in the GDP of Mexico. Good and fine. But then the question will be, do we now say because of their contribution to the development or to the growth of the GDP of Mexico, then crime should be allowed to grow? The answer is a no. So I think the president has taken a bold step. Whether or not crime, the proceeds of crime, I do not think is anything that any nation should be proud of. Most of these South American countries are deep into drug peddling. In fact, if you want to look for a drug peddler, go to Southern America. You will see drug peddling. South American countries are deep into all of this. But again, we want to see how we can make the world a better place for every one of us. Because the human life is what we are talking about. And every living being has right to life. But these drug peddlers, their activities alone is so harsh, their activities is so cruel, their activity is so terrible to the extent that drug peddlers can sniff off life from any person at any time they want. And they tell you nothing is going to happen. So I now see a woman, a man in a woman who has been able to say, no, let me take this step. Maybe she'll be encouraged.
You just hold it right now. I want to go for a break. When we return, we'll continue this discussion. Do not go away. We'll be right back. It's all about the death of El Mencho, the consequences in Mexico. Don't go away.
Some days, there comes the Ugemobo Festival, which the Oba celebrates outside the palace gate. A pavilion is built of red cloth where rites are performed to drive away all evil spirits still unsatisfied by the year's sacrifices. The Ugemobo Festival is to commemorate an event in Benin history which dates back to 1504 AD.
Yari yari, Ọba Tope. Yari.
The Oba of Benin added a colorful mood to the year's celebration as he walks round the city center amidst cheers.
Much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum reaching you live from Benin City, Edo State, South Nigeria, and we're taking a look at the death of El Mencho. Yes, one of the greatest, so to speak, right now, new generation drug lord that was killed by the Mexican military and is causing so much mayhem in Mexico. Government properties destroyed, public properties destroyed, people losing their lives all because of this. And of course, you must know that there's this squabble also to fill the particular vacuum created by the death of El Mencho. Claudia, the president of Mexico, she's doing her best, but some are saying the best might not just be good enough. And I have Barrister Emmanuel Obakpalo with me in the studio, and joining us virtually from our Lagos Network Center, we have Chris Ososa. They are trying to give you their views and opinion about what is going on in Mexico. You're making a point, Paris, before we went on that break. Please anchor the point you were giving about the GDP, and 7 out of 8 families do have drug peddlers in Mexico. How can this war be won?
Yes, this dwell just now between the government of Mexico and the drug peddlers is a one that is very difficult and also harsh on the drug peddlers. To my mind, I think that is a ton snag on the drug barons. And you know, like this part of the world, we have religious indoctrination, but over there in Mexico, what they have is drug indoctrination. So it is going to be a very, very big one. Family members in Mexico, you have at least 1 person or 2 from every family that is involved in drug peddling. So with that, you would agree with me that the population of drug peddlers in Mexico is a very high one if you carry out a vivid census. But to also say that drug peddling should be allowed, to my mind, I think it is something that the whole world should gather and fight. So the step, the boldness, the courage taken by the Mexican government just now, with synergy from the United States of America to fight drug peddling, I think is a good one. And the death of El Mencho, we should also look at it from this angle, that chemistry, that connection that we have, that chain reaction among the drug peddlers, I think will be punctured, and then every one of them will be gasping for breath, wherein they will see how they want to survive. Drug peddling is not only the business that one should be engaged in. I think there should be other better things to do to improve whether the economy macro or micro. But since some of them have taken steps to begin to involve, because over the years, so government over government, government after government are just silent, pretend to fight the war of drug peddling. But this one has come with the courage to say, I will fight drug peddling to a standstill. And I give her kudos to that. And so I think I koto her to go ahead and fight drug peddlers.
All right, now let's move over to Lagos, where Chris is standing by. Chris, as it stands right now, the U.S. is giving intel, while Claudio and, of course, our own persons or military personnel security agencies are the one carrying out some of these activities, dismantling, drug cartels in Mexico. Some of the people that U.S. should send troops to assist Claudio in fighting this war, that giving intel might not just be enough. Now, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I quite agree with that narrative, because now it's like Mexico has, beaten a lion. So the lion will come at them ferociously. So they have to be on guard. They have to get all the help they can, muzzle, to confront what will be hitting, the state of Mexico. So if the U.S. will be supporting with military might, that will be a welcome development, all right? Because the crime that these drug peddlers perpetrate in Mexico is disheartening. Just between year 2000 and now, over 119 journalists have been killed, because going by the nature of the work of journalists, they want to expose, things that are happening, they're not going right and all of that. And then the drug lords are not happy with them. So over 119 journalists has been killed. You discover that the impact on the society has been high, on high violence, diversified crime, impunity, corruption, and all of that. So you cannot continue like that as a nation. So what they also do is that they flood the economy of Mexico with what you call bad money in economy. All right. Now, you cannot build on bad money for too long. You need more structural system for your economy to survive, because if you keep banking on bad money that is drug guys put into the economy, you are going to shoot yourself in the foot along the line, because it's not sustainable. All right, so you need to go all out, as we've said. They must understand there will be consequences to this killing. It's going to be heavy and brutal, but they need to go all the way. Now is the time, to target that, to dismantle the structure of the drug system in Mexico. You have to go all out for it. Doing half measure will not help you, okay? Because you have to be fighting this battle over and over. It's become perennial. And that way, you will not be helping yourself. It's too costly for you. And then they also need to engage in what I would call some kind of advocacy orientation in Mexico, because you'll be shocked that some Mexicans are in support of these drug peddlers. Why? Because they money, that flood the economy and all of that. So it trickles down to the people, and then they make their gains from it too. So that way they are negatively wired to sentimentally support the system that have been entrenched over the years. So you need to disabuse their mind as regards orientation. You need to make them see things clearly, change narrative for them, so you can have the people with you. Because if you don't get the people with you in this fight, because already the people, have some part of the people go with the drug traffickers because of the kind of money it gives to them, and some will complain that, look, government is not doing enough to help their economy, to help their welfare, and then they get some things from these drug peddlers. All right, so that way they want to support them, like what you have in Palestine, where the people naturally support the terrorists because of what they gain from them. So such is happening in Mexico as we speak. So government needs to fight from both ends on military might, and also to try to push narrative that to win the hearts of the people to their side, because you cannot continue with the bad money that these drug traffickers pour into the economy. So my advice will always be that the president should keep going, take this fight to the hilt, and just keep it going. Take advantage of this moment to do a huge damage on the structure and the system of drug trafficking in Mexico. Go all out. The U.S. can give abundance of, intel, leverage on that, accept military help from the U.S., and then go all the way. Push them back heavily, disrupt their system, break the hold they have on Mexico, because right now they even have control over 1/3 of Mexico. They are so entrenched, and that is alarming. That cannot always be. You've got to confront it. And now that we have a woman that is bold enough to confront the drug trafficking system in Mexico, they should go all the way. You don't do half measure with this. If you do half measure, you'll be shooting yourself at the foot. So go all the way. Just go all the way. That's the way to go.
All right. Is that going all the way, that is the way to go? But the main sort of one critical point, that's this cartel. They have a hand or two in over 1/3 of the population. In the forces, they have their agents. In politics, they have their agents. Even in the cabinets, they have their agents. What about Mexico right now? And who knows, maybe, just maybe in the presidency, they have 1 or 2 persons there watching, monitoring, feeding them with intel. Do you think Claudia, the president of Mexico, has bitten more than she can chew?
I do not think so. I think she has taken a right step in the right direction, because Mexico cannot continue with drug peddlers who are so voracious and ferocious in their activities to see how they could build an empire, or to protect the empire they have built over the years. I think somebody should take a stand. And that's why I did say that I see the man in this woman called Claudio to be the real commander-in-chief. And I think she has taken the step as a commander-in-chief to ensure that she fights this drug peddling and drug barons to a standstill. Mind you, I did say again that it was not, the death of El Mencho was not intentional. I think that...
But the drug barons, they don't know that.
They are not even interested in that. Hence, he is dead. They are not interested in that. Maybe they've been looking for opportunity where they want to show their might against the government of the day. Maybe they look at it that, oh, she's a woman. How can a woman come and tell us what to do? Maybe that is the situation. But looking at the situation holistically from a bird's eye view, you would agree with me that Mexico cannot continue on drugs or continue with drug peddlers or drug barons just because they want their GDP to be improved, or just because their GDP cannot make them to be superpowers of the world. Instead, their GDP, despite the growth in their GDP, it will even dent the image of Mexico. How many persons have you heard will tell you that I want to go for Mexico for tourism, that I want to go to Mexico for summer holidays, all of that thing? No, you cannot find any, because in Mexico, again, I say, these drug peddlers are not just only involved in drug peddling. They involve in all manner of crime. They are rapists. They defile children. They are involved in every form of criminality, kidnapping, adoption of people, immigration racketing. They are involved in everything. So how can Mexico, as a country, as a nation, as a state in international law, continue with such situation? And somebody will say that, oh, Mexico was developing with all of this gangster. Because I think that with the presence of these men in Mexico, Mexico is only but a gangster paradise. But for them to ensure that Mexico is not the gangster paradise that people of my mind would see them as, they should ensure that there is a fight, there is a duel, there is a battle to ensure that these persons are disconnected, these persons are punctured, their so-called empire they have built over the years is destroyed. And I think that is the essence of this of the arrest of El Mencho. Eventually is late. So the Mexican government should not think of whether GDP or no GDP is going to be affected, but they should see how Mexico can be great again. Because once upon a time, and with the present situation we see just now in Mexico, Mexico is not a great nation. Instead, Mexico is even looking, is even on equal status with countries like Cuba, And how long has Cuba grown? We've seen great men, Fidel Castro, who ruled Cuba. But today, where is he? He's no longer there. So we think that Mexico should ensure that these drug peddlers are disconnected. These drug peddlers are brought to the barest minima so that Mexico can be taken serious in the global community, to see how Mexico can be a great nation. And I think we cannot continue, the world, Mexico to be precise in particular, cannot continue to pamper drug peddlers as we have seen over the years. These drug peddlers are very harmful. It is, and like I did say, it is a dangerous constituency. So you will ensure that there's a puncture amongst them, and I think the right step in the right direction has been taken just now by Claudio, and I think she will come out victorious.
All right, now let me go to Chris in Lagos, where he's standing by. Now, Chris, someone saying that since Venezuela, so to speak, have been neutralized when we talk about drugs, because U.S. was so emphatic about dismantling the drug cartel in Venezuela. They have the opinion that if Mexico can be curtailed, if the drug situation in Mexico can be brought to book, that the war against drug trafficking globally will be half won. How true is this?
Yeah, okay. The comparison between Venezuela and Mexico might not exactly be the same, in the sense that there's some political undertone to it, because Venezuela is tilted towards Russia, and then so it's easy for Trump, to score a political point by going after Venezuela the way he did. Of course, yes, also to curtail the drug trafficking there. But in Mexico government is cooperating with the U.S., all right, so they're working together hand in hand. So the U.S. might not want to just sweep over Mexico in that manner, but instead they will provide adequate intelligence and then provide military support as well. But besides that, we've seen also that Claudia Pardo has shown that she's a strong woman. Currently, she's ranked about the 5th most powerful woman in the world, all right? So she's doing much to want to say that, look, this is a battle I want to take. This is a battle I want to fight to an end. Okay, this is a battle I want to conquer. Because at some point, somebody should stand for Mexico and change global narrative about Mexico. Mexico is known all over the world for drug trafficking. And like the guest in the studio there, we just said, nobody wants to go to Mexico for some kind of holiday or all of that. You don't want to do that, because you step into Mexico today, your heart is in your mouth because of the gangsterism lifestyle of Mexican and of Mexico as a state. All right, so that narrative needs to change, in the global community. All right, so it's important that this fight goes all the way. But I will repeat this as often as I can. The consequence is intense. We've just seen that, because this guy is also going to regroup. They don't want to lose what they have, so they're going to fight back. They will fight dirty, so that will be the sacrifice that the nation will have to pay to get out of the hood. All right, so a lot will go wrong, okay, but they must be willing to counter that with greater strength, with show of strength, and then demonstrate that. So there's no shying away from it. You have that route you can take to curtail it and then dismantle the structure, because that's where the victory lies. It's not about killing the leaders and all of that. You can only shake that for a moment. These guys will come together, get involved in crime and all of that, but it's a well-organized system. So if you're going to take them out, you have to be, strategic in going after the structure and the network. And of course, yes, they have their agents everywhere, and that makes the fight very difficult, because internally you could be sabotaged, and then if the president is not careful, you could also be killed, because the rate at which Claudia Pardo is going, there could be some forces within the government that will go after her. So I'm very sure for her to have gone this far, she will have factored in all of this, okay? But the truth is, there will There must be a time that somebody will rise to confront the situation in Mexico. And I think that time is now, because Claudia is showing the will. So the world should give her that support. The US is behind her. We should just clamor for this and keep calling, because we cannot continue with this kind of system where we have drug peddlers free to run in the country, in some countries, and it's like become like something that been normalized. We cannot accept this as normal. It shouldn't be. It should be fought, because it's not just about Mexico. You know, they traffic drugs across the world, so they damage the entire world system with what they do, and that's what makes them big in terms of cash and then economic power. They sell across the world. So we need to confront this and then fight this fight. And then the world should give Claudia Pardo all the support she needs psychologically and otherwise to conquer this battle.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. And that will just be your last line on this discussion. Remember, this drug cartel, they have been fingered in prostitution, illegal immigration, cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, crack, you just name it, they are incurate. Now, he said something. At your parting word, some are saying that if you cut off the head of a hydra, 7 will take its place, knowing full well that this Mexican drug cartel, they have networks here and there. Taking off one head, do you see other heads replacing that of El Metro? Briefly.
No, I do not think so. In the words of President Putin of Russia, he was asked, do you forgive a terrorist? He said, no, my duty is to kill a terrorist and to send him to his maker. His maker is the one that should take decision whether to forgive him or not. I think these drug peddlers, it is high time the Mexican government took a final decision on them. And I think this is the right time. And I think that this decision that has been taken so far, whether or not you eliminate one and there are going to be other 7 that will come up, I do not see it happening. But I see a disconnection amongst them. And Mexico rather will be a great nation again.
Thank you so much, Barrister Emmanuel Obakpolo. I appreciate you, Chris Ososa, for your wonderful analysis. But some of the opinion that since Claudia has started this war, it's going to impact negatively on governance, because all our resources, everything will be focused more on fighting this cartel. Education might suffer, you know, the health sector might suffer, energy sector might suffer, all other sectors might suffer, because you need to focus more on this war. And the people that she's fighting, they will keep fighting back even beyond her own tenure. Is that not scary? What a consequence. Let's see how all this will pan out. Ours is just to report back to you on what is happening globally on International Forum. We'll do it again next week, Tuesday, God willing. Bye for now.
Okay, Chairman.
Some days, there comes the Uge Mobo Festival, which the Oba celebrates outside the palace gate. A pavilion is built of red cloth where rites are performed to drive away all evil spirits still unsatisfied by the year's sacrifices. The Emobo Festival is to commemorate an event in Benin history which dates back to 1504 AD.
Yari yari, Ọba Tope.
The Oba of Benin added a colorful mood to the year's celebration as he walks round the city center amidst cheers.